For years, I was embarrassed to associate myself with the term psychic. I felt stuck between the smart people and the away with the fairies fraternity. I felt and I was judged by the many who view metaphysical work as nothing but con artistry. I was insulted on social media and heard the same old accusations again and again. Preying on the vulnerable was one of the most popular, followed by, I could do what you do, all it is cold reading. However, before we go any further, my name is Leanne Haley-Burton. I've worked as an intuitive consultant for 30 years and I've produced literally thousands of consultations. I have featured on radio, performed hundreds of stage shows, and I am a self-published author of books on continued consciousness beyond death and the paranormal. If you are feeling generous today, a thumbs up would be lovely. Anyway, back to the story. I was also very keen indeed not to be tarred with the same brush as those who have turned the psychic and spiritual arena into a three-ring circus. In fact, a bit of a freak show. Performance, drama, overacting, ridiculous claims and embarrassing behaviour. Unfortunately though, a lot of people seem to really love this stuff, which is why it is all still thriving. Luckily, things are changing and more scientists are exploring metaphysical questions in a way they previously haven't. I have never seen my work as a spooky gift, but I've had to do a lot of delving. I've had to go down many rabbit holes and I've listened to much science that I really struggle to understand because it's so complicated to my brain. But it has convinced me that I am right to take this view of the work that I do. And it is entirely feasible that we can predict certain future events and pick up on aspects of the past. When doubters say that it is impossible to predict the future, they are wrong. Just because a person hasn't experienced something or doesn't understand it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Look, I'm no expert, but paraphrasing Einstein, he said that the past, present and future all exist simultaneously, and that the future that exists simultaneously has different potential futures within it. Given my experiences, I would say that that makes a lot of sense. I believe that what leads us to be able to feel or see selected cuts from the past or future is in fact enhanced consciousness. Maybe some of us are more naturally able to slip into an enhanced conscious state, but I believe that it becomes more possible with experience and practice. And I know for sure that I have accurately predicted many things that have come to pass, and not just everyday bog standard stuff. Other people can say the same thing too, so we do know that it is possible to be able to predict. On the other hand, it is important to understand that there isn't only one pathway, one set of events cut in stone ahead of each of us. Otherwise, there would be no point in being alive. We do have the ability to change the course of our own destiny, sometimes on the spin of a coin. It is my experience that, for most of us average souls, we are likely to continue along the same pathway and therefore not experience all that we potentially could. It's also my experience that our lives will be shaped by two factors. Fate, for want of a better word, those situations that we literally have no control over, except to choose how we respond to them, and the shaping and forming of our own destiny as a result of our beliefs, attitude, approach, decisions and actions. I don't know why it is that some people appear to be at the mercy of fate far more than others do, especially when they clearly can't be responsible for what happens, or why some people appear to be naturally luckier. We can come up with all kinds of answers, but we will never know for sure. Anyway, I'm going to give you an example of something that was predicted and blew me away when it happened. It got me really thinking about how certain events are already set in motion before they are physically experienced. I was, many years ago, conducting a consultation for a lady in my home. In my role of medium, from which I am now largely retired, I made a connection with her mother, who informed me that two people were going to lose their lives on the road nearby quite soon, but that nothing could be done to prevent it. Now, that was an alarming and unusual message, and I even wondered if I'd somehow dreamed it up myself. Anyway, that occurred on a Tuesday. 3 days later, we were driving the children to school and found that the road had been cordoned off. 2 young men had been killed whilst driving to work at the nearby power station. I was saddened, obviously, but also shocked as the words came back to me. I have no idea why that message was delivered or why it was delivered by someone who had no connection with either of the young men. This work has many mysteries, but it highlighted how something can be felt or seen to one degree or another before it actually takes place in this physical world. Now, of course, this is very unsettling, frightening even, but it is an extreme case. And also, it's part of the dynamic of the world in which we live. Now, I have written about this in one of my books, but it is a highly interesting example of a prediction coming to pass, especially bearing in mind that we live in a very rural area in which accidents are not occurring regularly. I recognise that that wasn't my prediction, it was given to me. However, as an example of an unusual prediction that was produced by my own mind, I was once informed by a woman that I'd produced a consultation for a handful of years earlier, and I couldn't remember. But anyway, apparently I predicted that her daughter would split from her partner, go back into education, meet another partner and have a child. And I think I've got all of that correct. She thought that it was rubbish. She and her husband were bending over backwards to help her daughter and her then partner and could not envisage them breaking up. However, apparently it panned out as I said. Now, what was the use of that prediction? It wasn't life-changing, but I suppose if something has been predicted, we might feel more accepting of it if it is something that we might have been resistant to. Does that make sense? Anyway, the metaphysical arena is made up of many, many different approaches, interests, abilities and skills. It is impossible to be able to define it, narrow it down and make black and white sense of it. I've experienced many aspects of it and some of it has been quite questionable. But there is something for everyone within it. Fairground fortune tellers have their customers. The Away with the Fairies folk have their customers. The I only tell you what you want to hear fraternity have their customers. The spiritual gurus have their customers. The consultants and readers with a down-to-earth, digging deeper approach who believe that intuition is a tool to provide insight and information have their customers. They should not all be bundled under the same umbrella. But in any case, only ignorant people do that, and those who benefit from it being this way. So why did I drop the term psychic and instead adopt the title of intuitive consultant? Well, mainly because I didn't want to be confused with those whose service is nothing like my own, and because I wanted to avoid aggravation and hassle. And I didn't want to attract those whose interest is fortune telling. I'm not dissing them, I am not the reader for them and they are not the customer for me. It's just horses for courses. But 30 years in, I'm ready to use the term psychic again. It is, after all, just a title. It means nothing really. There are so many titles within the psychic and spiritual arena, including light workers and dark workers and empaths. Now, these are terms that mean what people believe they mean, what it means to them. I use them because it is what is known and familiar, but they are still just titles. And I'm ready to present the case for an intelligent approach to that which is known as psychic. I am aware that the spooky and mystical purveyors will continue to dominate social media, and that I'm going to have my work cut out to gain any traction with this channel, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. My aim is to produce something for those who would like to know more about psychic and spiritual subjects, but are too put off by the hype and the drama. Now, don't get me wrong, my experiences have led me to be open to many strange things that can't be fully explained or understood by us mere human souls. I'm just trying to do my bit to advance the openness and acceptance of the metaphysical side of life in this world. If you're interested in hearing more about psychic and spiritual matters in a grounded way, subscribe to this channel, which I am currently revamping because it has been pretty naff up to this point. I have plenty of topics to explore, but if you have questions or something you'd like me to cover, please let me know in the comments, and check out this video wherever it appears.